Hi folks, welcome to Tidus episode 37. We are in the Iron Keep and getting ready to take on the Smelter Demon. One thing I want to take a moment to talk about first is weapons in Dark Souls 2. There are so many different weapons that you can use that it's always good to have a second and third backup weapon on top of your main weapon. On top of that, you want to have weapons that deal different damage types. The Great Club here deals strike damage. It's also a great idea to have a weapon that does thrust damage. There are spears that do thrust damage and strike damage, so there are weapons that deal multiple damage types. There are swords that deal slash and thrust. So just pay attention to the damage type that you're dealing and pay attention to the enemy's weaknesses that you're taking on. So I always recommend having a backup strike weapon and a backup thrust damage weapon in addition to regular weapon. Having multiple weapons helps with item durability as well. So if you want to do the main area with one weapon and then take on the boss with a different weapon, you can do that. In this area here, the Elan Knights are weak to strike damage, so that having a strike weapon helps with them as well. You can always use a repair powder if you're going to use the same weapon to take on the area as well as the boss. Even if you're a dex build, I would still recommend having a strike weapon against this boss. So we're going to take out the Elan Knights in this area, that way they won't bombard us when we summon Lucatiel. We want Lucatiel to have as much health as possible. Notice these water pots over here. I recommend you roll through those water pots for the boss fight. The water pot effect lasts for 3 minutes, so you want to roll through the water pots and then go into the boss room. So what you can do is take out all the enemies, then come back, roll into the water pots, and take on the boss. You can also use small orange burrs, which add 150 fire resistance, and you can also use flash flare, which adds another 200 fire resistance. Both of those buffs last for 90 seconds. We're going to summon Lucatiel for this boss fight, and it's going to help out so much. But before we do that, we want to take out this Elan Knight captain. We're going to wait for him to shoot his great arrow and pick up the item here. Just remember, there's 2 enemy Elan Knights above that are going to come down when we attack this guy. You can use your bow to shoot this guy from a distance. Notice we're using our life gems before we get to the boss, that way we can save our Estus flask for the boss fight. You can buff your weapon with dark pine resin. You can also use gold pine resin, so lightning or dark. We're going to use magic weapon for this boss fight here. If you want, you can use the flamestone ring. You can also put fire resistant armor on. We need Lucatiel to stay alive throughout this boss fight. You can always quit and reload or use a homeward bow. Notice that at about 25 to 30% of his damage, he will buff himself with a fire. He'll stoke the fire inside of him, and that will do a fire dodge when you're close to him. At about 50% damage, he will put his sword inside of him and do a buff his sword with flame weapon. Our Great Club is doing great damage against this guy. Even with Lucatiel to help us, it's just absolutely destroying this guy. His attacks are a little bit delayed, so you want to wait just a little bit before you do your dodge. Now, when he stabs the ground like that, and he keeps his sword in the ground, he will do an AoE attack that is an explosion that has a big radius around it and can do big damage. So, you'll notice I'm always watching him to do that AoE explosion and keeping my distance. I even grabbed my Witch Tree Branch to shoot him with some spells while we're waiting to find out if he's going to do that explosion or not. Took him down on the first try. Very exciting. Lucatiel helped out a lot in that. Now our reward is the Porcine Shield and 5 Flame Butterflies. But our reward's not done yet. On top of all the souls we received, I think 24,000 souls. We're going to rest this bonfire and open up the shortcut. And we're going to take on the Pursuer. The Pursuer is also weak to strike damage. You can use Thrust or Strike to make this fight a lot easier. I highly recommend Gold Pine Resin because he deals dark damage. For some reason, I always think this Pursuer is harder than all the others. His attacks seem to have just a little bit bigger range. I could be wrong here, but this guy is very dangerous. He seems to have more health and do more damage. Our Great Club also helps out significantly in this fight. When the Pursuer gets low on health, you can do an exploding dart attack where he shoots a bunch of dark orbs from him. He'll do a charge up and just shoot all those dark orbs out. You do not want to be in front of him for that attack. You want to get behind him and attack him and see if you can kill him before he does that dark attack, which is very dangerous. If not, you still want to be behind him to reduce the amount of damage that you take during that attack. I'm going to go back to Things Betwixt and do the tutorial area that we skipped at the very beginning of the game. We have 3 Fragrant Branches of Yore in our inventory, so we're going to spend 2 of them and upgrade our Estus Flask. Let's grab our torch so we can light all of the sconces in this area. Enemies here don't even have a weapon. They're trying to hit us with their fists. You can see the ogre down below. If you read all of those stones there, they give you tips and they tell you the control layouts. That one there advises you on doing backstabs, which we did on that enemy there. We're going to pick up the dagger. And this enemy here has a bow. Another enemy with a bow. And then he pulls out a broken short sword once you get close to him. Let's light the sconce, go back through the fog door, and we're gonna find Dyna and Tilo. Do not forget to kick this ladder down first, so we're going to kick the ladder down, and we're going to do some trades with Dyna and Tilo. I will come back here multiple times throughout the game to trade my petrified somethings, small, smooth, and silky stones, and smooth and silky stones. You can also trade prism stones with Dyna and Tilo. Dyna and Tilo has some good trades. You can get Titanite slabs, Titanite chunks, Titanite shards, petrified dragon bone. You can get life gems. You can also get weapons such as Demon's Great Hammer, Channeler's Trident, Old Whip. You can get the White Ring. You can get Homeward Bones for trading Prism Stones. You can get small orange burrs, small blue burrs, Fading Souls, and Rubbish for trading Prism Stones. I usually don't trade Prism Stones. Let's see what we get. We got a Soul of Proud Knight, getting some Twinkling Titanite and the Titanite chunk. Got some okay drops here. Didn't get a Titanite slab. So we'll drop down, light this sconce here, pick up the item, drop down again. There's 2 more sconces to light over here. Don't have to make this jump. If you do, you'll get 2 amber herb for making the jump across. I have died doing it before, so you want to be careful. You got to line it up just right. And you got to be careful jumping back too. Another sconce, and we're going to get a plunging attack on this enemy down below. Pick up the cracked red eye orb from this room, and we're going to head on through the fog door to get back out to the area and light another sconce. Don't forget this sconce overlooking the area behind the Fragrant Branch of Yore. Notice the basilisk, so you know you're going to deal with petrification up ahead. Notice that tree branch on the other side there. We're going to kick that down to create a bridge shortcut to get our way back very easily and quickly. He somehow did a spinning attack right over my head while I was slamming my great club down. Alright, we're going to light this sconce, and we're going to get our witch tree branch out and snipe these guys. We want to use a bow. You want to use something to thin out these enemies down there. There's 4 basilisks down below, and there's an archer shooting at you. If the basilisks do their spinning jump attack, they can knock you on your butt, and you can get petrified, and you're in such a small area down below that it's so tough to avoid petrification. Great opportunity to get the ore stones that infuse weapons from these basilisks. We just got a Dark Knight stone. Hear the ogre. You know he's down below. There's actually 2 of them down there. But first, we want to unlock the shortcut, so we have an exit plan, just in case these ogres get out of control, because 2 ogres at the same time is way more overwhelming than just one. One by itself is a very difficult enemy. So we're going to wrap this video up here. We'll take on the ogres in the next